I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
So you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
The flow insane, take my spot, so the range, shoot my shot with perfect aim, 3rd degree, that perfect flame, ain't no sleep, that's the game, oh so southern, that's the slang, when they see me, that's the main, chasing checks and fly like planes, big old stick, I bought a cane, flick my wrist and bought the ring, I'm so boss, we're not the same, paid the cost and kept the change, now I'm walking Hall of Fame, and I reside in the cloud, ran wishes with these bitches, taking pictures with the crowd, and I'm out.
Yo. Happy Friday. Peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Hope all is well. Hope you are in good spirits, made it home safely, avoided traffic. If you are in traffic right now, be safe on the road. Shout outs to my poets, writers, content creators. Shout outs to everybody in the building, wherever you're watching from. Peace and love to you. Good to see y'all. Hope y'all are in good spirits. You see the title. Yeah. We got to have a conversation. You know how diverse we are over here on this side of the internet, man. I came across this story. I said, yeah, y'all going too far. You're going too far with this. Sid is in the building. Let me bring her up on the big screen. I got a clip I want to play for y'all. We're going to chop it up. Get comfortable, grab you something to drink, snack on, all that good stuff. And let's get it. Sid, what up?
Hello. How are you doing?
We got rain over here right now. It's on and off, but it has been a great asset to me over the last week because it's been extremely exhausting with this heat.
Yeah, it's been quite hot here. Like you can feel the heat through the windows, but I am glad I'm not in Paris. They've been getting 130-degree weather in some parts of the area. And I'm like, I've been in 115 to 18-degree weather when I went to Vegas as a kid. And that was suffocating. I'm like, I can't imagine an additional 15 degrees on top of that. I'm like, ooh. Death Valley is that hot. And that was a standing record from a while ago. But yeah, I'm glad that we don't have that kind of heat at least. Other than that, I'm doing pretty good. I've been tired, obviously, but other than that, I'm doing good. I have a poetry conference this weekend, so I'm very excited for that.
I love that. Yeah, Chef. 130 is crazy. This I'm gonna tell you, don't ask me or invite me out anywhere in this type of weather because I'm not going unless it's a road trip and I get to be in the air, the AC, or I'm on the water or something like that. Nah. But shout out to the poetry community. I love that. How's the book venture going?
It's been good. I'm trying to get the word out there. And then I just finished the second manuscript. So that's with another poet who's going to look it over. She's from the program that I'm in, so she's going to help me edit and like catch anything that might need to be adjusted before it goes to like an actual editor. So yeah, I did get that done. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to get it out before the end of the year. So yeah, that'll be really nice to have a second one out.
Respect the grind, for sure. I want to segue over here to this clip. They doing a lot, man, a lot. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it. It just seems too AI-ish. Like I don't. It's hard for me to believe that it's real, but I'm gonna let y'all take a gander at this and let's have a go at it. Let me bring this up here on the big screen.
New law will make it illegal to call them mother and father. Nate Foy has the details on this. Nate?
Hey, Jackie. So, yeah, New York Democrats argue the words mother and father are outdated and need to be replaced with more inclusive terms under state law. All that's needed now is Governor Kathy Hochul's signature. So if Hochul approves, in New York's family court and in domestic and education law, a mother would be labeled as a gestating parent, a father as a non-gestating parent, and paternity proceedings to determine the child's father would be called parentage proceedings. The bill passed.
We can't call our mother and father. So we put to say they governments. You try and get these kids slapped the fuck out. Listen, I don't care what laws y'all coming up with, right? Y'all not gonna have these kids calling their motherfucking fathers Bernard, calling Mom Deuce Jessica, and getting that slapped all through the motherfucking house. Understand me? Mother and father, mom, dad, pops, Mom Dukes. That shit is in full effect. I don't know what y'all got going in New York. Y'all done made gas legal up there now. Y'all just trying to change everything up. Oh, slow the fuck down, sir. Fuck missing them,
A new law.
Yeah. Now they basically trying to make it to where you can't even call your parents your actual parents. They trying to have it to where you calling them by their first and last name. Initial thoughts, anything?
I'm fine with this because it is definitely needed for people that are in relationships. Not atypical, but like if you have two fathers or two mothers, it can be confusing on paperwork sometimes if they don't have accommodations for that. But to me, I do find their word choice really stupid, for lack of a better term. I feel like they made it way more complicated. I don't know what's wrong with just saying parent one and parent two. Like, why do they have to define it at all? And the words that they're choosing is gestating parent and non-gestating parent. I'm like, that's extra. That's a bit too much. Like, parent literally signifies that they're raising the child. That's all you need. I just like, I support the idea of promoting equality. I just think they're going about it badly, and the word choice that they're choosing makes it more complicated than it needs to be.
I think they all need to be dropped on their head once or twice. Because my grandmother, my mom's, my uncles, They would have slapped the hell out of me if I called them by their first name. My grandma was not playing that. You're not about to sit there and call her by her first name. Period. I'm definitely opposed to it. Now, granted, I can't control people dating within their gender. You got the right to do that, even though to me it's an abomination. But you're not about to rewrite history. Not for me anyway. Like, y'all already doing way too much with that. Way too much. You're trying to force kids to watch programming that overly sexualizes and confuses them about their gender roles and sexuality. You're allowing these adults who cosplay as men and women to use the facilities of little boys and girls when we know, based off of biology alone, that they do not belong in those locations. You're trying to change everything. And I don't know how people actually feel about that. Let people identify with their parents or parental figures as they see fit in their own home. We don't need a law being passed that's going to get somebody a fine or get somebody arrested because they choose not to use a term or a phrase that's been around for thousands of years. But I digress.
Adding on to what I was saying about the terminology, when you have signifiers such as indicating gestating parent versus non-gestating parent, it complicates things for people that are adoptees, people that have adopted children, because technically neither of them are gestating parents. And so how would you define that? Like, what if it was what if it was a gay relationship or a lesbian relationship? Like, in any of those circumstances, none of the parents are gestating unless it was like vitro, but that's beside the point. If you're adopting a child, neither of them would fall into that category. So how would you even define that on the paperwork? And again, as I said, like, I don't understand why they can't just have like parent 1, parent 2, and then they specify parent 1 is male or female, parent 2 is male or female. Like, isn't that simpler than trying to come up with some crazy terminology, especially because the literacy rates in this country are declining? What if people don't even know what that means? Like, what if you have people that are answering the questions incorrectly because they don't know what it means? I've seen adults struggling to read words that I learned in like first grade. So I guarantee there's going to be people that don't understand what that means. Yeah, I just don't get why everyone knows what a parent is. So I just don't understand why they have to complicate that. But on the bright side, for anybody that is an opponent to this, right now it's a bill. So it's not technically a law. For it to become a law, it has to be signed off by the president. And we all know his stance on stuff like that. There's no way that he's going to approve the bill unless he's, getting some under the table benefits. So yeah, I don't think this will actually come in, like, become a law, just because of that aspect of it. But I am at least glad that they're thinking about trying to uplift communities that have historically been struggling. I just, again, think they're going at it badly. Like, they could remove the problem altogether by just not including differentiating words that people might not know.
Well, you know how you sign or fill out an application for a job and it has Black, Indian, mixed, Caucasian, Japanese, other. You could do that. I don't think there needs to be a bill passed. Like, if you're suggesting that a person can get in trouble for saying mom or dad, that's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm with you, and I'm with Chef on that. And there was a part that you mentioned Trump. I just came across a story where I don't know if it's going to actually happen. It's a conversation that's on the table where they are discussing taking away the benefits from people with disabilities. So if you have any type of ailments that keep you bedridden, you have psychotic episode, like if you have anything going on with you that you get a check for, they're either going to make this pass, put you in hospice, put you in a facility, costing not only your family money, but putting a lot of your loved ones in jeopardy, extreme jeopardy, if they have health concerns and things that matter that require the help that they get. So I don't know if it's really that far-fetched of him suggesting or trying to support something like that. But of course, like I said, it's a conversation that I've seen floating around just recently.
I do want to clarify one thing. Nobody would get arrested for using the wrong term, but what this does do is across, like, all the paperwork and law stuff that they have, all of the written stuff, family court proceedings, domestic relations law, child support statutes, and education law. That's where all of these changes would be. So stuff relating to like family custody battles and child support and all that stuff, that's where all that language would be changed. It could also potentially leak into the medical industry as well, since those can be quite interconnected, especially with like child related stuff. So nobody would get in trouble per se, but it would just add complications because you're gonna have to go through and change all of this terminology and usage in like law creation settings. So it would be just extra work, and again, in my opinion, unnecessary. I also found another term that I find like I find it humorous. So a putative father, which is an unestablished biological parent, they're going to redesignate the name as alleged parent, which I find really funny for some reason. Yeah. So I just think the again, I'm glad they're embracing trying to help people with the discomfort around gender equality and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I still think they're making it way too complicated. Some of these terms were perfectly fine. Like, we've been using mother, father for generations, and again, I feel like you can even simplify it further by just allowing them to put the name of who it is and then whatever their preferred gender is, and you don't even have to use those terms if you don't want them, because there are like completely gender neutral terms that you can use, that people would understand, that wouldn't have all of these other clarifiers, alleged parent and gestating parent. So yeah, but again, I can't imagine it's going to go very far because, for one, as I said earlier, we already know how he feels about that area of social politics. But additionally, he also has a deep-seated resentment of Mamdani in New York. So I already know that he'd be particularly disagreeable when it comes to New York policies because he thinks that New York is being destroyed. So yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. I'm glad it exists, but I also think it's just another superfluous thing, like wasting American time just on like, who cares about documentation? Most of us never even see it unless we're actually involved in those things. All of these are documents relating to organizational stuff. So why does it matter? It's not like birth certificates or wedding license and stuff like that we have and have to have on record and stuff like that. It's the stuff behind the scenes. So why do they care so much about the word choice?
Imagine being 5 years old saying, "Hey, gestating parents number one, get me cookie." What? Or imagine being a year old, you done took your first steps. Your mom is around, your dad is around, and the first words out of that child's mouth is gestating. Yeah, good luck with that. I understand the angle and the position that you take on this. Trust me, I do. I just think it's odd. It's weird that we've watched over the last 15, 20 years or so. We've seen so many things change, and I'm all for advancement. But are all of these changes absolutely necessary? Some of them I can understand. Others not really so much. Because what my thing is, what's going to be next? What you're going to try to make illegal now, or what you're going to try to say we can't do next? Oh, you're going to start charging me for air? You're going to tell me, well, hell, you already telling us we can't even collect rainwater. It's illegal to do that in certain states. So, like, that's my only thing. Where do you draw the line with some stuff? Because when I first saw the clip, I'm like, this got to be AI. But I've seen multiple people speak on it, so there must be a grain of truth to it. And again, like you and Chef said, there are simpler ways to identify the people that are raising you. If I got to go to Google or Chrome and I got to type in the word and memorize it in order to know. That's doing too much. But I love that you're being considerate to us, even though you could take that same consideration into areas that actually need attention. This is probably the least of a concern of all. If you said, I'm sure you have a list of things that rub you the wrong way with this government. And I'm sure everybody here does. That would probably be the last on it or close to it. So that's all I'm saying.
I have a whole book dedicated to all the things that I don't like about our government. Yeah, my first poetry book is a social commentary about the political system in the US. So I very much dislike the way things are done in this country. And just like what you said, just like what was said, I believe he also it was said in the video. There's so many other problems that we could be dealing with, and the things that they're choosing waste our time, waste our tax dollars. Like, there are serious problems plaguing this country. People don't have clean water, people don't have access to food, people don't have access to housing or health care, people don't have access to childcare that they can afford, people can't have, like, the literacy rate is dropping like a rock, the economy is doing terrible for anyone who's not in the stock market. You name it, there's problems. Like, we're even having spikes of diseases that we almost wiped out. Like, measles is coming back. I've heard bird flu pop up again. I've seen that there's an STD problem that's running rampant. They just had their first death from influenza in the military because they basically did away with vaccines for a short period of time. Like, we have so many problems that we're dealing with that affect people's lives and how healthy they're able to be, how happy they're able to be, how functional and productive they're able to be. Like, if the people of the nation are not healthy or not productive, that affects the entire nation. It affects the economy. It affects what we're able to do with other countries. If there's no output from us, we're not going to be doing very well because we have nothing to offer. And if our education systems are going down, we won't even have logic and science and all of that type of progress to offer either. So they're focusing on social issues that bother people emotionally, but they're not focusing on any problems that affect people physically that would actually ease the pain of all of the people in this country that are struggling. So besides it being like the choice that they're making is stupid. I have no other words for it, but it's just stupid, like the word choice. But it goes beyond that because, again, it's useless to us. That doesn't change the way people are treated or the way people are living. It only changes the way that they're referred to on paper. And I guarantee most of the people would rather have housing and food over paperwork that reflects their proper gender.
Bang, 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 bang.
Facts, definitely. That's why I think it's just pointless. Address some of the issues that you see on social media. Address some of the complaints from your general community. What is this? I done seen, and this one came up on my timeline a while ago. I never came back to it. I'm gonna have to at some point. But I think she was a governor, or She was like a governor or a mayor or something. She had a significant position in one of these states. Anyway, she stepped down from her position because she confessed to being a Japanese or Chinese spy. Like, let's not act like that didn't happen. You know, and I am going to spin back on that one. But I brought that up to say that's something that y'all could address. We concerned, nobody's worried about the he identifies as her or it. No. You do what you do in your own household. Like, you don't need a law for that. That's my whole thing. You don't need a law for that. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of households or now. All right, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of households that got nicknames and they figured out a way to identify who is who. But if you want to just put it on paper for like medical reasons and you gotta take care of something and you're not biologically the person's this or that, then I can understand for those purposes. Again, show of hands. Have you had a conversation with anyone in your lifetime about this particular issue? Has this ever arose as a problem? I'm just curious.
I've heard discussions before, but it was more in the vague term. It was more applied to all the stuff with passports and birth certificates and stuff like that, like changing names and the ability to change genders to reflect the identity. But I've never heard it on actual like law paperwork, because that's what this mostly applies to is, as I said, like behind the scenes law type writing for cases that involve parentage. So it mostly affects paperwork that most people don't even see unless they're going through court proceedings. So it really wouldn't affect people in a way that they would even notice unless you're like actually involved in a situation using that paperwork. So yeah, I've heard the identity discussion, the paperwork discussion had before, but again, it was not to this type of stuff. It was more towards like identification documents and stuff that are way more important to people and way more noticeable than that type of paperwork. So yeah, again, it's not something that will overwhelmingly benefit people. It's just going to be like it's if they made a law that on the news they're only allowed to say certain terms. It's just how information is being conveyed, so it doesn't actually help anybody.
To me, it's no different than them saying that they're going to investigate anybody who talks about Israel. That's a real video. I think I saved it. I'm gonna come back to it. They say, look, man, if y'all talk about that, we will be monitoring your videos, all that. It's like you're trying to censor people. You got people working as spies in our country, but this is at the forefront of importance. Stop it. Knock it off. But I'm wondering, do you think I'm overly it was a stream we did. It was called like Doom something. You think I'm Doom? It was called Doom something. It was like when you overly like make something like significantly tragic or something. I'm gonna have to look that word up. Do you think I'm over exaggerating or I'm putting too much on it? Because for me, it's like I'm just seeing too much change rapidly. And this is one of them things where it's like they sitting in an office somewhere bored and they said, let me find some new things to mess around with and alter for the people because we ain't trying to really pay attention to anything of any importance.
I don't think you're overreacting when you think of it in the frame of like them wasting our time, because them creating the law itself isn't something worth getting bothered about. It's more so the fact that they're doing it when they could be doing other things. There's so many, as I mentioned in the middle of the stream, there's so many problems that people are struggling with. Like there's people that are struggling with drug addiction and homelessness and lack of ability to afford food and medication and health care and dental care. And it like we don't need law changing in the background. Like we need laws changing in the foreground of the entire community. Like the entire community should be able to benefit from a law regardless of who it is. But this type of law is basically just like stuff on paper, and so it's not actually going to be improving the lives for anybody. It being mandated to say certain words are not going to increase children's literacy and retention rates in schools. It's not going to get people off the streets. It's not going to provide better medical care and affordable dental care so people aren't dying from diseases that we died from in the 1900s because we didn't have medical care. I think it's angering in the sense that like this is what you're spending your time on. You represent us, you represent our communities, you promise to make things better for us, but you're choosing to pass laws on things that have no effect on anybody. It doesn't improve livelihoods. It does, like, just saying new words doesn't make people less hungry. It doesn't make kids less sick. It doesn't make people struggle less. And so in that sense, it is frustrating because those lawyers could be dedicating themselves to something different. They could be trying to change the verbiage to make it harder for businesses to take advantage of individuals. Like there's so many other things that they could be doing with their expertise, but they're focusing on something that is designed to make people feel good. And again, I'm not against people being more open and responsive to people's different identities. But I think if you're making these decisions and spending the time and money in lieu of doing other things that are more impactful, that's where I think it's disgraceful. Like on both sides, both administrations, Republican and Democratic, they are time wasters. Like politicians on both sides will neglect the big issues and focus on the things that get them popularity and stuff like that. Like there are very few politicians that genuinely buckle down and try and figure out how to solve homelessness, how to solve addiction crises, how to solve outbreaks, how to solve people not having access to the resources that they need. And like basic resources like water. We're in supposedly a first world country, but there are communities throughout the entire country that are living like a third world country because they don't have clean water, they don't have food access, they literally eat from like dollar stores and gas stations because those are the only businesses that can survive being in such a small rural area. And people are like living in trailer parks that have holes in the ceiling, and they don't care. They don't do anything in that sense. They know people are out there. They visit them. They go door to door and talk to them when it's election time to be like, hey, what do you want from us? And then they don't do anything. They don't fix the communities. They don't help them. They make deals with the companies that take advantage of them. And so honestly, we need to do a better job voting, like paying attention to who these people are and who's funding them and the companies that stand behind them, and are profiting off of it. But we should be mad at the creation of laws like this, but not for the philosophical reason of like, oh, we want to like gender equality and LGBT rights and stuff like that. Because of course that's important, but we need to be mad that they're not actually trying to help with the LGBT homelessness crisis, which exists because they are discriminated against in jobs. And yeah, so I don't want to go on another tangent, but there's that's why we should be mad at them, because they aren't actually focusing on the things that matter to us, that we know matter to us, and they don't represent that. Even though they say they do, they don't.
I'm with you. I'm with you. As a matter of fact, I was about to give you a Donna Marco, but I came across this one. I don't even know if this is the right one. I'm gonna try it out. We need y'all to do better, tighten up. Y'all playing around. Matter of fact, I know exactly what this is. You ever been on a job and you got that one coworker? They got the personality, the charisma, and they use it to get out of doing work. They can make you laugh. They can make time go by extremely fluently. By the time 3:00 hit, you ready to get up out of there. You just be like, wow, I can't believe how time flies. But in duration of the work shift, you kind of be noticing like, my arms a little heavy, my legs a little, my back hurting a little bit, and you laughing and you joking around, but you look over to your left and to your right, and the person that's entertaining everybody is on their phone, or they got one piece of equipment in their hand, but it ain't even turned on. You scrubbing the shit out of something, but they got you laughing, so it's like you don't really say nothing. That's what this remind me of. This is exactly what that remind me of. They're working, but they ain't producing nothing. But they give you the illusion and the impression that they working just as hard as you, and you know dang on well that's not the case at all. That's exactly what this remind me of. Exactly. I just left that not too long ago. Want to tell on everybody else. Want to play supervisor to the supervisor. I had somebody texting and calling my phone area hour while I was at work. Where you at? Where you at? What you doing? What you doing? Why are you worried about what I'm doing? You should be worried about what you need to be doing. And then when you finish all your work and you dip off and you don't want to be bothered, they trying to get you into all type of stuff because they know they ain't did what they're supposed to do, but they try to use you to do their work. That's why they stay underneath the boss. Yeah. They've been slacking though. The government been on that. We've known this for a long time though. But ain't it hilarious when you think about how they really be getting away with some of this stuff in the most obvious ways, and nobody really says too much about it or really notices. They feel off. They feel short.
They also are so good at redirection, making us think that the problem is in a different area. I just heard a comparison that's been sticking in my mind lately, where they complain that all the jobs are being shipped overseas when it's literally the companies just choosing not to hire Americans. Like the politicians make it seem like it's our fault for not wanting to do the jobs, and so they have to go overseas to find different workers, when in reality they're the ones that are choosing to go overseas for the other jobs and are taking jobs away from Americans that would have been perfectly capable of doing those particular would be perfectly capable of doing that. Goodbye. They're the ones that are sending those jobs away, but it's our fault because we don't want to work. We are not doing well in our education, even though they are the ones that decide how students are able to learn in a huge proportion of the schools. And it's our fault for climate change because we drive cars, even though 70% of the emissions are from companies that back United States politicians. So they love to divert the blame to us, saying it's our responsibility to change things. It's our responsibility to make the tiny decisions to make things better, when they're the ones that are getting all of their money, all of their power from companies that are benefiting. It's a mutual thing. Like, the politicians benefit because they get to be in positions of power and decide how things are. And then the businesses are also benefiting because they're able to get more money from the government. They're able to benefit from the additional advertising and the government is a customer of a lot of these businesses, and it's clear that the majority of our politicians are doing what they do because of somebody behind them, not because they actually care. I think a lot of people are still. I wouldn't say a lot of people at this point, because I think more people are waking up. But 2 years ago, people still were in the mindset that the politicians care for us. They want to do better for us. They're trying. They say that they're doing XYZ, but in reality, they're not. And I mean, case in point, we just had the SAVE Act that's currently trying to be pushed through, and they just won't sign it. That's exactly what I think is going to happen to this law. Is they're just not going to sign it and be like, nope, I'm not going to approve this. That sucks. So it still ended up being a waste of time. You're going to put all your efforts into changing words on paper, and then it doesn't even come to pass. So you basically just wasted all of those resources, which again could have been applied to creating laws that actually benefit people in the streets, benefit people in prisons, benefit children in schools, but they're wasting it on just verbiage. So yeah, I think it's frustrating that we have politicians that pretend to care about us for our votes. They tell us what we want to hear, whoever they think, like whichever side they think has the most voters, that's who they're going to say all of the, like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to make it easier, you're going to get more jobs, you're going to get more better income, we're going to do building initiatives or whatever, and then they don't do them, or it takes them like years and years and years because there's all this tape, and it just never happens. So it, to me, again, I think it's good that we're changing the way that we think for people. We're being more accepting and understanding, but that's not what we need right now. We need help for most groups of people, unless you're wealthy and have a mansion in the hills and can afford like whatever you want. You're going to be struggling. Most people are using debt to buy food. Like, we're not in a very good state. But of course, it's our fault because we want to live expensively. Meanwhile, the rich, we all know how they are. So, yeah, I think this is just another example of a waste of our time, basically. Laws that are there that to make us feel good and think that things are getting better, but it's just a distraction from all the stuff that they're not actually doing.
Bang, bang, bang.
Hey, look, real quick, I want to say shout outs to Chef, shout outs to Miss Coleman, shout outs to Levy, and everybody who pulled up to join the conversation. This is not on my bucket list. This is not a subject matter that is like state of emergency important, but it did make me do the people's eyebrow, because I never thought about what I was going to call my grandparents. I just knew, you better not call me by my first name, or I was going to slap fire out your butt. That's all I knew. And in regards to what you just said, redirection is their bread and butter. Dangling nice shiny little objects in our face to shut us up. Just a strategy that they've been utilizing forever. But see, this right here triggers people, and like the post itself, I think it had like 3,000 comments on it. And it's, to spark a conversation, to get people engaged about something that really doesn't do much for the community at all. Not in the way, like you said, not in the ways that's necessary or really needed. Soon as you give me my hat, then we'll have a conversation. G14, run me my hat, and then we'll talk. But nah, it's at the bottom of the totem pole. We got way too many other things to discuss up here besides that, and I'll just leave it at that. I just thought it was kind of ridiculous. Just like them siphoning and watering down the gas so that it can mess up your engines, or them putting all these AI generated sensors in all of these cities, depleting the water supply and putting you in a situation where you're not allowed to consume all this water, but they can drain the entire reservoir. All of it is a distraction. They do the real dirty, nasty stuff in your face, and then they hide it behind rage baity type of think pieces, if that's the right way to frame this. So they got this big ass data center over here that's taking millions of gallons of water out of your living spaces a day. I think it's like 500 milliliters or something per AI generated uh request or conversation. Um, but they want to talk about introducing a new McRib or introducing some ridiculous ass new toy or something to the general public. That triggers you more than the actual problem. We need water. We need water. We need air. We need vegetation. Everything else that come last to me. Now they're saying the livestock consumes like 200% more water. Yeah, I don't buy that neither, bro. And on a different note, just a side thought. Where is all the livestock coming from? How are you eating cow? How, like hamburger and stuff like that? Ain't no way that you can produce that much volume in hamburger meat and still consistently, unless like you cloning or whatever. I never understood that. It just made me randomly think of that when you said livestock. Where is the cows coming from? I know it takes a significant amount of time to farm these animals, get them to a specific age where you can actually do something with that. I don't know. That's why my whole diet is changing. And I know we at the later portion of the show, so I'm just gonna put this out there. This is another reason why I ain't messing with no food. I know I'm going off, but there's a woman that was a, um, a manager at Arby's, and I guess she got into it with one of the customers, and she spit in the customer's food. The same customer ended up catching herpes from her saliva. She's arrested, but I will never eat at a fast food restaurant again. I think that's a little more of a significant conversation than whether or not I'm going to call you sustained parent number one or whatever the hell that shit was.
Yeah, I that made me think of a different story where a family's daughter got brain damage because another family member had a cold sore and like kissed her on the mouth, and so the girl got herpes and subsequently sepsis or something like that, and ended up with like brain damage from that. I'm like, that is nasty. Getting herpes from food at a restaurant, like, but again, there's another problem that could be solved. All of the issues that like STDs are becoming a huge problem in the United States right now, as well as a bunch of other infectious diseases, as a result of everything that's happening within sciences and science funding. Um, so, yeah, but instead we still waste our time with words. And I think it's kind of sad that people are more concerned about like how people talk and what word choices are being made, rather than getting off their butts and going and marching and demanding actual changes that actually benefit people. Because we would have so much better gender equality if we actually supported the education system and the social support systems, and the overall access to resources. Um, so it's unfortunate that it's so easy to get a rise out of people today over really insignificant issues that just distract from everything else that would actually mount to more. And I think even ourselves, even the civilians that don't have all these privileges that these rich people have and are using against us, we have to recognize that we are actively being deceived and distracted on purpose because they don't want to have to do the hard work of actually making life better for people. They want to enrich themselves because it's easier. And of course, it's more pleasurable to, get whatever you want, whenever you want. And I think as a whole, we have to stop getting fixated on the smaller issues and start recognizing that they're distractions, and we should be focusing on demanding better treatment from our government and demanding that they take care of us in the way that they say that they do. So I keep saying this because I don't want this to be confused with like, oh, I don't think we should care about people's identities, because I still think that's important if it's important to the person. I mean, like, we're not going to tell somebody I'm this ethnicity. No, you're not. Like, to me, I kind of see it as the same thing where it's like, whatever you identify as, tell people what you identify as, and that's it. Like, I don't get why it's a fight, as long as we're not like forcing people to adhere to certain identities and stuff like that. I think it's just a waste of our time, a waste of our energy, and people on both sides need to wake up to that. That all of these issues that politicians use to debate, a lot of it doesn't actually matter. I think realistically, we should assume that both sides are really trying to get our vote and don't have the intention of actually helping us, because there's, again, as I said earlier, there's people standing behind them that have funded them in a certain direction, and they're doing service to those who can pay the most. And because we as taxpayers don't actually pay that much in comparison to what all of these big corps could, they don't care for us. I think we've been duped for a long time into thinking that politicians are there to make things better. It's rare that we actually get politicians that are genuinely there because they have the spirit for it and want to make life better, and they see the actual issues. Most of them visit a few communities and they're like, oh, look, they're poor. All right, moving on. Nice to meet you. Thanks for your vote. They're not actually going to interview you and be like, what is actually affecting you? What is it? How come you can't afford your home? What prices are affecting your lives. Like, why are your kids sick? They don't care about that. What they care about is if you can put them into a position of power. And so they'll talk to you and be like, oh, yeah, that sucks. I'm going to do that for you. I'm going to make your community better. I'm going to pay for these initiatives and we're going to, and then they don't do it. Because in the end, it only mattered what they were able to get from you. And then they just went off and did what they wanted once they were in that position. So I think people should look deeper than the face value of the law, because I think stuff like this is a distraction from real work that could be done that would actually matter more. I thought I have a poem that I thought I would fit but I wanted to make sure you didn't have anything else you wanted to say.
Nah, I'm gonna let you close out with that.
Okay, cool. This one is a poem from my book. It's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble if you're interested. And again, it complains about the government. So if that's your thing, you might enjoy this. So this one is called Audible Walls. Fear fabricates flamboyant, mutated mirages. Massacres masked by manipulated mathematics, manifested by the malfeasant marauders, damning us to disproportionate dexterity, magnified morality, fragility, mortality, witnessed victims and dismissed fatality, recorded crimes, yet forced redirection, real-time revelations with not one intervention. In each malignant, militant principality, cities fester in chronic dismality. Crowbar the union with dangerous duality, relying on ignorance and unkempt neutrality. Agape, masses gasconade and deflate. In realization, they've been denied an escape. Suppress exceptions, dismantle pride. The reporters, the spreaders, the compliant, the fried. Stand to gripe, to point fingers, to grouse, smothering logic with their beautiful mouths. In words stead, seekers of eyes will bleed out. In words stead, bleepers of lies flee the doubt. In words stead, the keepers of lives sealed out. In words stead, we are consumed by the shouts. Nary the ear, nary the mind. Bodies preached wrongdoings from cloudy heads to headlines. Digital districts feed famished faces, smearing and stoking, selling, revoking. Loud, unaffected by onlookers, sitting with screens and systems, making boredom their weapon, self-seeking and selling verses, virtual reality stealing with curses. Words are posted for nothing, but words cannot be for nothing. There's nothing heroic about energetic voices when devolving to odious odes. Those in power have had their run, for tech has tied us to the bum. We donate talent, rage, and cower, giving up our precious power. Protecting guns, but not our thoughts. Restricted, poisoned, dazed, and confined by a life sentence that we bought online. Using the change you popped into your pockets that you thought was for the better future. So, yeah, that was about how they deceive us and how the words that they use are often to trick us into enriching themselves.
Thank you for sharing, and thank you for everybody who pulled up this evening. I hope y'all have a blessed night, blessed weekend. I will see some of y'all tomorrow. If I don't, enjoy your whole weekend. Great conversation. And I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you for reminding me, because I've seen like 3 clips of that today alone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna jot that down right now so I don't forget. But to everybody in the chat, man, y'all be easy. You know how to reach me. If you got topics on anything that you want to see covered up here, send them my way. We'll make it happen. And yeah, do me a solid before I go, if you don't mind.
What's the goddamn button?
Peace.
Bye, guys. Have a good weekend.
The flow insane. Take my spot, so the range. Shoot my shot with perfect aim. 3rd degree, that perfect flame. Ain't no sleep, that's the game. Oh, so southern, that's the slang. When they see me, that's the main. Chasing checks and fly like planes. Big old stick, I bought a cane. Flick